Earth lies in a fragile, tentative balance, struggling to heal from centuries of relentless destruction. A once vibrant world now bears the heavy scars of ecological collapse, poisoned oceans, ashen skies, and desolate landscapes. Yet, amidst the remnants of environmental ruin, a glimmer of hope persists. The survivors, hardened by years of adversity, work tirelessly to rebuild what was lost. Cities rise from the ruins, green sprouts push through cracked earth, and nature begins its slow, delicate restoration. But the past looms like a shadow, its destruction etched deeply in the hearts of every human who remembers. The world feels fractured, unsure, still haunted by the ghosts of past mistakes. Though there are murmurs of optimism, the divide among humanity is still sharp. Different factions, each with their own vision for the future, clash in quiet streets and boardrooms. The old world's power dynamics echo through the new order. Despite all this, there is one undeniable truth. Earth will rise again, but it will never be the same. In the cold, starry void of space, the arrival of the Ilyari is a silent storm. Their sleek, obsidian ships slide across the cosmos like ancient predators, their design sleek and perfect, reflecting an alien culture of unimaginable refinement. The Ilyari look upon Earth as a simple relic, just another world in the vast sea of the galaxy, a place to collect knowledge, to see the power of ancient history. Their cold, emotionless gaze takes in Earth's cities, the surviving humans and the wrecked planet, seeing nothing but a cradle for forgotten secrets. They believe themselves superior, the inevitable next step in the evolution of life. The humans, in their eyes, are little more than children playing at survival, but that matters little. What does matter is a collection of Earth's sacred heritage, artifacts, relics, and symbols of power. They are not invaders in the typical sense. They are curators of the galaxy's lost history. In their mind, Earth's spiritual heritage is a resource to be stripped, a raw material that must be claimed for the greater good of the Ilyari. As their ships glide across the atmosphere, the planet beneath them trembles in quiet, defiant protest. Earth is not an object to be taken. It is alive, and the Ilyari are blind to that. The Ilyari move with precision, as cold and methodical as their ships. They arrive at the sacred sites, temples, pyramids, ancient caves, all places of deep spiritual significance to humanity. Their advanced technology makes the act of extraction seem effortless. Artifacts, ancient texts, and relics of immense power are torn from the earth with no regard for their spiritual or cultural importance. The land groans beneath the Ilyari's intrusion, as if warning them of a consequence they do not understand. As the Ilyari began, a pact was formed, not in blood, but in rebellion. Small and fragile, but dangerous. A spark. 2 days later, the food drones crashed midair. No warning, no alarms, just a scatter of nutrient sludge over the floor. Lights in Quarter 9 blinked, then dimmed. They pulsed, slowly, like a heartbeat, then quickened, then died. Guards stumbled through the hallways shouting in 5 languages. Their scanners worked one moment, failed the next. One guard entered cell ring Delta. He never came back. Some said he slipped into a maintenance shaft. Others whispered he was taken by something that lived in the vents. But no blood was found, no trace. The system was cracking. From his cell, Eli watched it unfold like a conductor. He didn't lift a finger, but the music played. Panic in controlled doses, confusion with surgical precision. The prisoners stirred. They felt it. The pulse of uncertainty, the chance. Tiki laughed in this corner. It's beautiful chaos. Eli nodded. Now they're looking everywhere but at me. He didn't need force, not yet. Just cracks and time. Tex wasn't like the other guards, older, smarter, and suspicious. He caught Eli in the stairwell between sections 4 and 5, where no inmate should ever be. Alarms didn't go off. Systems didn't alert. The tech lied for Eli. But Keck saw him, alone, moving. His voice trembled. "Who are you working for?" Eli stepped forward, calm, cold, controlled. "I don't follow," Eli said flatly. "Don't play games. Lights are going out, guards disappearing, prisoners whispering. Are you part of something bigger?" Eli leaned in, eyes like stone. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Then he walked past. Kex didn't stop him. Couldn't. The air felt heavier now. A line had been crossed. A mask dropped. Power shifted. And it didn't belong to the guards anymore. No one knew his name, not really. Some called him Ghost. Others, Warden Breaker. A few whispered, Earthborn. He didn't give speeches, didn't command. But the prisoners watched how guards ignored him, how the cameras flickered around him, how he moved with purpose, never afraid. One prisoner stopped eating when Eli did. Another copied the way he tapped his foot 3 times before walking into a hallway. Soon, Mari realizes the magnitude of what is happening. The Ilyari have unwittingly violated something far older and more powerful than their technology. The land is not just Earth. It is a place of power, a nexus of ancient forces that will not be silenced. In the distance, she hears the rumble of Ilyari ships closing in. The ground shakes again, louder this time. The clash of 2 worlds, one technological, the other ancient, has begun. And humanity's legacy, entwined with the Earth's ancient powers, may hold the key to the galaxy's future. This sets the stage for the conflict, where Earth's ancient powers and the Ilyari's cold, detached superiority will clash in a battle not just for survival, but for the soul of the planet itself. The Ilyari ship descended onto the Mongolian plateau, its sleek, otherworldly form casting an ominous shadow over the ancient land. Towering mountains surrounded them, but it was the sacred site they sought. An area untouched by human greed, protected by centuries of belief. A massive monolith stood at the heart of the plateau, its surface inscribed with ancient proto-human script, a mystery long guarded by nature itself. The Ilyari had studied Earth from a distance, their sensors telling them everything they needed to know. Primitive cultures, spiritual relics, but they were above such things. The monolith wasn't an artifact, it was a puzzle. And the Ilyari, always in pursuit of knowledge, were determined to solve it. With a hum, their technology activated, lifting the monolith into the air. The ground beneath it trembled, an ominous vibration rippling through the land. For a moment, the air around them thickened, an eerie silence pressing in like a weight. The hum of the monolith, low and almost imperceptible, grew louder. It was as if the object itself was alive, thrumming with an energy that stretched far beyond anything the Ilyari had anticipated. Mariyun, standing off to the side, felt a chill crawl up her spine. This was no simple relic. This was a warning. She wanted to shout, to stop them, but the Ilyari were so sure of their superiority. She could only watch as the monolith hummed louder, vibrating with an ancient power. The Ilyari were oblivious. Their hubris was unmatched, and they had no way of knowing they were about to unleash something far beyond their understanding. Dr. Mariyun stepped forward, her voice trembling with urgency. "It's not a tomb, it's a cage," she implored, her eyes wide with terror. Her voice was a sharp contrast to the cold indifference of the Ilyari leaders. One of them, his alien features cold and clinical, waved her off dismissively. "You humans are too emotional," he said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of superiority. "This is a scientific breakthrough, nothing more." Mari's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the monolith, now suspended high in the air, its thrumming energy pulsing with growing intensity. "You don't understand," she said, voice breaking. "That monolith, it's not just an artifact, it's something far more dangerous. It's a seal." But her warnings fell on deaf ears. The Ilyari dismissed her as nothing more than a superstitious relic of Earth's primitive past. Frustration welled up inside her as she watched the Ilyari continue their work. The monolith's hum grew louder, and the very air around them seemed to tremble with the power that had been unleashed. The breach of the monolith sent a shockwave across the globe, invisible, yet undeniably powerful. Within hours, violent storms began to form, tearing across continents in a way that defied natural explanation. Lightning struck with unnatural frequency, filling the sky with blinding flashes of fury. Hurricanes, so massive they swallowed entire cities, ravaged the coastlines, while tornadoes, reaching miles into the atmosphere, touched down in the most unexpected of places. The animal kingdom, too, felt the tremors. Herds of animals fled their habitats, abandoning their homes in mass panic, running from something they instinctively knew was coming. Entire ecosystems seemed to collapse overnight, as if the very foundation of Earth itself was rejecting the Ilyari's presence. In the Ilyari Command Center, alarms blared. They had anticipated some form of backlash, but this was beyond anything they could have imagined. The planet itself was fighting back, against them, against the disturbance they had caused. It was as if the Earth had awakened, and it was furious. Mary watched in horror, knowing deep down that this was only the beginning. The Earth's forces had been triggered by the Ilyari's actions. A power far beyond the comprehension of either species was now stirring beneath the surface, and there would be no way to stop it. As the storms intensified, a dark event unfolded in the sky. One of the Ilyari's advanced ships, stationed in orbit above the breach site, simply vanished. There was no explosion, no warning. One moment it was there, a gleaming monument of alien technology, and the next, nothing. The silence that followed was deafening. The Ilyari scrambled to locate the ship, their instruments running diagnostic checks, but there was no signal, no trace of its existence. It was as though the ship had been swallowed whole by the Earth itself. No warning, no distress call, just the haunting, empty space where it had once been. Panic rippled through the Ilyari ranks. This was something they couldn't explain. Their advanced technology was incapable of comprehending what had just happened. They were facing a force that was beyond their control. But rather than reassessing their approach, the Ilyari only doubled down, more determined than ever to continue their mission. They couldn't afford to appear weak. They refused to acknowledge the magnitude of what they had unleashed. That night, Mary's dreams were plagued with visions, vivid, unsettling, and beyond anything she could understand. She saw an immense being, an ancient force stirring beneath the earth, waking from a deep primordial slumber. Its presence filled her mind, and though it spoke in a language long forgotten by humankind, Mary could feel its power. The being, though unknowable, seemed to recognize her. Its voice echoed in her mind, calling her by name. It was a sound that resonated deep within her, a connection that reached through time, through bloodlines. The entity's power, vast and incomprehensible, flowed through her consciousness, as if awakening something dormant inside of her, something that linked her to the very forces the Ilyari had disturbed. Its words were cryptic, an invitation and a warning. You are the key. The cage is unlocked. Mary awoke with a start, heart racing, drenched in sweat. The meaning of the dream was still elusive, but one thing was clear. Something ancient, something beyond human understanding had been awakened, and it wasn't going to stop. As the storms raged on and the Earth's response escalated, the Ilyari grew increasingly desperate. They clamped down on the human population, arresting anyone who showed signs of resistance or dissent. Mari Yoon was among the first to be detained, branded a troublemaker for her warnings about the monolith. But it wasn't just Mari. Those who were arrested began to change. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, their voices speaking in forgotten tongues, and their behaviors became erratic. Something inside them was stirring. something that linked them to the ancient forces beneath the Earth's surface. The Eliari, who had once looked down upon humanity as little more than an obstacle to their mission, now faced an unexpected force. The awakening power of Earth itself, manifesting in its people. They were scared, but they would not stop. Their arrogance had always been their greatest strength, and now it was their greatest weakness. The Eliari were determined to finish what they had started, even if it meant unleashing something they couldn't comprehend. In the dark cells of the Eliari prison, the transformation was complete. The prisoners, once ordinary humans, were now something more. Visions of an ancient power, divine and terrifying, had begun to flood their minds. The force awakening inside them responded to the monolith's breach, bonding with them in ways that felt both familiar and alien. Mari felt it first, the pulse of power, ancient and primal, flowing through her veins. It was as if she could feel the Earth's heartbeat in sync with her own. Memories of humanity's lost gods, of powers long forgotten, began to surface. Her bloodline was connected to something far older than anything the Eliari could imagine. But this power came at a cost. The transformation was both a gift and a curse. As the human prisoners bonded with the Earth's ancient forces, they began to change physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Their minds and bodies were no longer their own. They were vessels for something much older and much more dangerous. The Eliari were beginning to realize that they had not just disturbed a relic, they had awakened something that was now impossible to control. Humanity, once helpless, was now becoming the dominant force in this conflict, and the Eliari could do nothing but watch as their mission spiraled out of their control. The cold metal walls of the Eliari facility felt like a tomb. Commander Reyes stood silently beside Mari, his eyes dark, his face scarred by the weight of years spent on the front lines of battles that humanity had never asked for. The air was thick with tension as they moved swiftly through the halls, the hum of the Eliari technology vibrating underfoot. "Are you sure this is what you want?" Reyes whispered, his voice like gravel in his ear. Mari's heart pounded as she nodded. Her escape from the Eliari had been nothing short of miraculous, but it wasn't just her life at stake now. They had unleashed something far greater, and she was the only one who could stop it. As the door to the shuttle opened, a crackling sound echoed behind them. The Eliari had noticed. The silence that had bound Earth's ancient power was cracking, and now the floodgates were open. Without a word, they stepped into the shuttle, the cold metal of their prison now behind them. As the ship launched into the sky, Mari felt the weight of her decision settle on her. Something had shifted. Something had been set into motion that could never be undone. All over the Earth, in the dark silence of night, ordinary people began to dream the same dream. The visions were vivid and unrelenting, figures cloaked in light and flame, their forms shifting in and out of human shape. Their eyes burned with ancient knowledge, and their voices echoed like forgotten songs. A young girl in New York awoke with tears streaking down her face, whispering words she didn't understand. The old gods are waking. In Beijing, an old man, long past the age of reason, grasped at his chest in sudden recognition. He too had seen the figures in his dreams. The whispers grew louder in his mind. "You have forgotten us. We return." It was no coincidence. Around the world, the dreams spread like wildfire. The whispers of the old gods, once forgotten, were stirring once more. What began as a soft murmur soon became an undeniable presence in the minds of every human on Earth. Fear mixed with awe, and the world felt a tremor of an ancient power returning. The Eliari had anticipated an uprising. Soldiers, guns, tactics. But what rose instead was something they couldn't predict. The Earth had long been a cradle of human innovation, yes, but also of ancient power, something the Eliari had overlooked. Across villages and cities, the forgotten things began to awaken. The Earth breathed in ancient rituals, whispered in the languages of the old. There were no generals, no battle plans, only humans gathered together in moments of deep communion, drawing on the primal forces that had always been there, hidden beneath the surface. In the streets of Paris, a group of children circled the flame, their eyes wide as they recited an old chant. In a hidden village in Africa, a grandmother passed down the knowledge of her ancestors. Across the earth, humanity was reawakening to something far more powerful than any weapon the Aileri could ever wield. Deep beneath the jungle canopies, hidden beneath the thickest ice and buried within the oceans, ancient temples began to stir. Their stones, worn by centuries of neglect, began to glow with an otherworldly light. Low hums emanated from these forgotten places, as if the earth itself had come alive, pushing back against the Aileri's intrusion. In the depths of the Amazon, the Aileri surveillance systems began to glitch. Geometric patterns, impossible to decode, appeared in the air above the ruins. The ground beneath them trembled. No technology could understand what was happening. They had triggered something that even they were unprepared for. These temples were not just relics of the past. They were prisons, warnings, and they were alive. The Amazon was a thick, suffocating maze of green. Mari and Reyes trudged forward, their breath coming in ragged bursts, their bodies exhausted from the journey. But they couldn't stop, not now. They had arrived at the heart of the jungle, where a shrine lay hidden, untouched by human hands for millennia. And there, beneath the thick vines and moss, something stirred. Mari felt it before she saw it, a pulse beneath her feet, a soft thrumming that resonated in her chest. Reyes looked at her, his expression unreadable. "It's here," Mari said, her voice low, almost reverent. They approached the shrine where the air seemed to shimmer with an unnatural heat. A glowing symbol adorned the altar, pulsating with light, casting eerie shadows. As Mari placed her hand upon the stone, the earth itself seemed to respond, and the dormant entity within the shrine began to stir. The Ilari elite suppression teams, prepared for any resistance, entered the jungle with cold precision. But what awaited them was not the human rebellion they expected. As they neared the shrine, the ground beneath their feet began to shift. Geometric patterns appeared, twisting and folding reality itself. One by one, the soldiers vanished without a trace. Their signals flickered and then disappeared completely, as if they had never existed. Inside the jungle, the very fabric of space itself seemed to reject them, and the Ilari, though technologically superior, were helpless in the face of this cosmic force. Mari's body began to burn, not with fire, but with an energy that coursed through her veins like molten lava. It wasn't painful though. It was more of an awakening. Her eyes glowed and she could feel the ancient power flowing through her. She was no longer just a human. She was something else. Reyes watched, torn between awe and fear. "Mari," he whispered, his voice cracking, "what have you become?" But Mari was no longer just Mari. Ishkath, the earthborn flame, had chosen her as its herald, and the transformation was inevitable. Her body was now a vessel for an ancient force, and the earth had marked her as its champion. Mari stood at the edge of the jungle, staring out at the horizon. The world seemed different now, as if everything she once knew had shifted. She wasn't sure who she was anymore. The power inside her was both a gift and a curse, something that could destroy her just as easily as it could save humanity. Reyes stood beside her, his face drawn with concern. "Are you, still you?" he asked quietly. Mari's gaze flickered to him. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I know I can't stop now. The earth needs us." Reyes nodded. He knew that the battle was no longer just about survival. It was about what humanity was gonna become. As the ancient forces within Mari grew stronger, the choice before them became clear. Humanity had the power to rise, to claim its place alongside the gods who had once ruled Earth. But at what cost? Could they really trust these powers, or were they risking everything by unlocking forces that had been locked away for centuries? The Earth was alive now, and its ancient power had returned. But Mari could feel the weight of the decision ahead. Should humanity rise with the gods, or should they lock them away again before history repeated itself in ways they could not control? The choice would define the future of the Earth, and Mari was the one who would have to make it. The Iliari fleet looms like a dark cloud over Earth, their massive mothership circling the planet. In the heart of the ship, a silent countdown begins. A device capable of splitting planets pulses with cold power, programmed to detonate if Earth's ancient force, long forgotten, spreads any further. The High Chancellor, once a symbol of Iliari might, watches with cold detachment as his final solution nears completion. In the shadow of the Iliari's threat, humanity on Earth has no idea that their fate is hanging by a thread. But whispers of change are spreading. The winds are shifting, and even the stars seem to flicker with a strange energy. Yet the Iliari remain unyielding, believing their weapon will be enough to extinguish Earth's ancient spark once and for all. Mari and Reyes, standing together amidst ruins, have one goal: unite the Earth's scattered forces. Ancient bloodlines hidden for centuries and alien defectors who have grown weary of the Iliari's tyranny begin to gather. They are not soldiers, they are believers, guided by Earth's buried truths. The ancient rites and forgotten legends speak of a time when Earth itself was alive with power, a time that the Iliari have kept hidden. As they prepare for the confrontation, the allies share stories and dreams of the gods, of forces that stir beneath the surface of the planet. It's not just about war, it's about remembering, about rekindling what was lost. Together, they forge an alliance not through force, but through the strength of belief. The flame of Earth burns brighter as it gathers the light of forgotten souls. The Earth trembles. What were once distant visions, whispers, and dreams become reality. The gods of old, beings of power and light, are no longer intangible forces. They take shape. Some emerge gently, their presence soothing and calming. Others manifest as terrifying elemental forces, raging storms, ancient fires, and moving mountains. Each one carries a piece of Earth's raw will. As Earth transforms into a battlefield, the skies darken with the looming presence of these gods. They are reshaping the world, responding to the cries of those who awaken them. The Iliari, who once considered themselves the rulers of the cosmos, now face a force they cannot control. They are not fighting for power, they are fighting for the survival of their very existence. High above the world, in the frozen peaks of the Himalayas, something stirs. A being of pure storm, a god of thunder, awakens from its ancient slumber. The very air crackles with energy as each step it takes causes the earth to quake. Lightning dances around its form, bending to its will, as the sky screams with the force of its breath. The Iliari satellites, once the pinnacle of technological superiority, begin to fail. Their systems short-circuit, their communication lines fracture. All they can do is watch in horror as the storm god, in its rage, sends the skies into chaos. The Iliari's once invincible control is crumbling, and humanity stands at the precipice of something greater than they could have imagined. Deep beneath the scorching sands of the Sahara, another god stirs. Time itself seems to bend as a being of pure silence rises. Its whispers ancient, its power vast. The god of time and stillness emerges, causing the very air around it to ripple. As its presence spreads, the Iliari's once perfect language protocols begin to unravel. Their commands become fractured, distorted, and meaningless. The Iliari are now fighting against something they cannot understand. Their minds, conditioned to control, are breaking apart in the face of something far older than they ever expected. The voice beneath the sand speaks not in words, but in the very fabric of time itself, reaching back to rewrite the past, present, and future. Mari and Reyes, after months of planning, infiltrate the heart of the Ilyari mothership. The alien ship hums with cold elegance, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding outside. Its silent corridors echo with tension as they move through the vessel's heart, preparing for their final confrontation. The High Chancellor awaits, an embodiment of the Ilyari Empire's arrogance, his mind unyielding and his resolve absolute. Inside, the architecture is alien, yet eerily familiar, as if the ship itself is a living entity, pulsating with the rhythm of its creators. As Mari and Reyes move closer to the High Chancellor's chamber, their minds race with the knowledge that the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rests in their hands. There will be no second chances. Mari now, imbued with the power of the gods, stands before the High Chancellor. The Ilyari's once perfect civilization is collapsing under the weight of its own arrogance. Mari speaks, but it is not her voice. It is the voice of Earth itself. The flame-born power inside her burns bright as she demands justice, not vengeance. She calls for the release of humanity, for the restoration of balance, and for an end to the Ilyari's reign of fear. The High Chancellor, a being used to having control, feels the first stirrings of doubt. The Ilyari, who once believed themselves the pinnacle of evolution, now face an opponent they cannot comprehend. They're not fighting against an enemy. They are fighting against Earth's soul itself, a force of creation, life, and death.
The skies ignite in a war that spans across galaxies. The gods of storm and sand battle the Ilyari's cold precision. Lightning and fire tear through the heavens as elemental forces clash against alien technology. Earth, caught in the crossfire, becomes the stage for this epic conflict. Humanity is no longer just a spectator. They are part of this war, fighting with belief as their weapon. The Ilyari, for all their technological might, find themselves unable to hold their ground. Their weapons shatter against the might of Earth's gods. Yet the real battle lies in humanity's choice. Will they stand with the gods, or will they fight for their independence? The future is not just about power, it is about belief and the courage to stand against the unknown. Ishkath, the silent flame, demands release, total release, so that it may destroy the Ilyari fleet once and for all. Marie stands at a crossroads, torn between two paths. To unleash the full force of the gods would be to give into chaos, to let destruction reign. But to control the flame is to gamble with survival, to risk everything for the chance of victory. The cost of godhood is immense. Marie must decide. Will she allow the fire to burn uncontrollably, or will she learn to control it, risking everything to save Earth? The weight of this choice will shape the future of the galaxy and of humanity itself. As the battle rages, Reyes makes the ultimate sacrifice. In a final desperate act, he sabotages the planet Cracker core, halting the countdown and saving Earth from annihilation. His sacrifice proves that humanity's true strength lies not in their power, but in their choices. In the end, it is not weapons or gods that save them. It is their will to survive, to fight, and to protect what they hold dear. The planet Cracker core fails. The Ilyari fleet is destroyed. Earth stands victorious, not because they were the most powerful, but because they chose to stand together, to believe in each other, and to fight with everything they had. The sky above Earth was once dominated by the Ilyari, an ancient, mighty empire that crushed all who dared to oppose them. But now, they are retreating, humiliated and broken. Their massive fleet, once a symbol of absolute power, streaks across the void in fractured retreat. The blackened hulls of their ships bear the scars of an unimaginable war, as though the very fabric of their empire had been torn apart. The Ilyari, once so sure of their superiority, now flee not from weapons, but from something far more terrifying. Truths they once mocked as mere superstition. Inside the command vessel of their broken fleet, the Ilyari leaders stand in silence, their alien faces twisted with disbelief. A young officer approaches the High Chancellor, the one who had first dismissed Earth as nothing more than a primitive world ripe for conquest. But now the truth was undeniable. The gods had awakened. The legends were real. Humanity had not only survived, they had ascended. Officer, my lord, we cannot outrun it. The truth, it follows us. The legends, they were real. High Chancellor, a bitter laugh. Legends, I should have listened to those who believed in them. Now our empire will scatter into nothingness, haunted by what we ignored.
The officer's words echo through the bridge as the High Chancellor stares out into the vast emptiness of space. It wasn't the weapons of war that had defeated them. It was the belief of humanity. The gods had shown up, not to destroy, but to defend. And now, the Illyri had to live with the consequences. The fleet jumps into the void, leaving Earth behind, their arrogance shattered, their empire undone by the very thing they had once ridiculed: belief. Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a symbol of something far more powerful than anyone had ever anticipated. In the aftermath, Earth slowly begins to rebuild, but it is not the same world as before. Though the gods have receded from view, their influence lingers in the air, in the soil, in the minds of those who experienced their awakening. The bond between humanity and the divine is not one of power, but of burden, a responsibility that cannot be ignored. Mari, the chosen vessel through which the gods once spoke, feels their presence in her thoughts. The gods do not speak in words, they speak in memories, in visions, and though they have returned to wherever they came from, their mark upon her remains. The weight of their expectations is crushing. They're still here, aren't they? Somewhere. Watching. Waiting. Mari's connection to the gods is a double-edged sword. The burden of carrying their knowledge and their will grows heavier each day. It's not power she craves, but understanding. An understanding of what the gods want from humanity now that Earth stands alone in the galaxy. Though the gods have left their mark, Mari knows that the world is forever changed. She is no longer the same person she once was, and neither is Earth. The universe begins to notice. Earth, once considered a small, insignificant planet, has become something far greater. Galactic powers, those who once looked down on humanity with indifference, now take heed of the blue planet. Earth is no longer just a colony or a curiosity. It is now marked as sentient sovereign under the universal code, a planet that no species may trespass upon without consequences. The Galactic Council, an assembly of the universe's most powerful and ancient species, sends an envoy to Earth. The message is clear. Earth has ascended to a new status, but what does that mean for the other civilizations that have existed for millennia? Council Envoy. Earth is no longer a speck in the universe. It is a force, a beacon. We must decide what to do with it. As Mari walks through the corridors of the Galactic Council's embassy, she realizes the magnitude of her responsibility. The gods, the powers of the cosmos, they have chosen Earth. But what does that choice mean? Will humanity rise, or will they be consumed by the weight of the universe's gaze? Earth is no longer under the radar of galactic powers. It is a sovereign world, a symbol of hope, but also of great uncertainty. What will Earth do with its newfound status? Mari stands before the Galactic Council, the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They have summoned her for a decision that could reshape the future of Earth forever. The offer is simple: become Earth's first ambassador to the stars. With this title comes power, respect, and the chance to represent humanity in the galaxy. Mari looks at the faces of the council members, some alien, some mechanical, all ancient and wise. But despite their promises, something in Mari's heart tells her that diplomacy cannot guard what sleeps beneath. The gods, the old powers, they will not be held at bay by politics. Council leader, you, Mari, are the chosen one. You can speak for Earth. Lead us into the future. Mari, softly. I don't want to be a leader. Not like this.
Earth's future is not written in treaties. It is written in the whispers of the gods. Mari's decision is of great weight. She refuses the offer of diplomacy and chooses a different path, a path that will lead her into the heart of Earth's hidden past. Her decision marks the beginning of a new mission, one that will take her beyond the stars and into the very soul of Earth. The Council's offer is declined, but Mari's resolution is firm. She knows that Earth's future lies not in the hands of politicians or alien ambassadors, but in the mysteries of the past, mysteries that must be understood and honored. Mari embarks on a new mission, one that leads her deep into Earth's forgotten history. The shrines of the gods, those places once ignored and abandoned, are now the focus of her quest. She seeks to chart and safeguard every god's site, ensuring that humanity never forgets the power that once awoke. Across the globe, Mari journeys from hidden caves to forgotten temples, finding ancient symbols and relics of a time before recorded history. In each place, she feels the weight of the god's presence, a silent but unyielding force that demands respect. Mari, whispering to herself, "The gods are still here, and they're waiting." As Mari unravels the mysteries of these ancient sites, she discovers something far more important than the gods themselves. There is a secret hidden in the earth, a message, a warning that could change everything.
Mari's quest is far from over, but with each step, she is closer to understanding the true purpose of the gods' awakening. Earth's past holds the key to its future, and Mari must protect it at all costs. The world begins to heal. The chaos of the past is slowly replaced with the steady pulse of rebirth. Nations rebuild, but they do so with a new understanding. The boundaries between science and myth blur as both become intertwined. Children no longer study only the great figures of science. They learn of Namu, the ancient god of wisdom, and the stories of Earth's mythical origins. The mysteries of the universe are no longer hidden. They are part of the curriculum, part of humanity's future. We've learned so much, but we must never forget the lessons of the past. We must rise, but with wisdom and humility. As the world rebuilds, the seeds of a new future are planted. The world may have been broken, but from the ashes, something incredible is emerging. A united, enlightened Earth ready to face whatever the universe may throw its way. Earth is no longer just a planet. It is a beacon of hope, of mystery, and of strength. Humanity is ready to rise, not just as survivors, but as a force in the galaxy. On distant worlds, the echoes of Earth's transformation began to resonate. Alien myths stir. Statues that once stood silent now weep. Moons shift their orbits. What happened on Earth was not an isolated incident. It was the beginning of something far greater. Across the galaxy, alien species began to question their own beliefs. Could the gods that once ruled the stars be waking once again? Could Earth, with its newfound power, be the spark that ignites the universe? What have we overlooked? What have we missed? Earth has shown us that belief, not just technology, can change everything. The story of Earth's rebirth spreads like wildfire across the galaxy. The gods are not just myths, they are real. And the time is coming when every species must face the truth that they too will be judged by the gods. Earth's transformation is not an anomaly. It is the beginning of a new age. And as the galaxy watches, the gods stir once again, ready to judge the universe. Mars. Desolate red plains, the wind howling as dust storms whip across the barren surface. A distant ridge outlines a jagged horizon as a lone ship descends slowly onto the red soil. A rogue Iliari ship, its metal frame scorched and battered by previous encounters, lands with a heavy thud on the Martian soil. The crew, cloaked in despair and anger, disembarks with weapons drawn. They've come to seek answers, revenge, or perhaps redemption. But as they move closer to the ridge, something strange catches their attention. A glowing mark etched into the ground, as if the planet itself had spoken. Captain Xylar moves forward cautiously, his hand hovering over the strange burning symbol. His breath catches as he realizes it's an ancient message, but not of human origin. Xylar whispers, "What have we done?"
A canyon wall, jagged stone formations stretching up into the sky, bathed in the eerie glow of alien symbols. The crew scrambles to decipher the pulsing marks. The team, now inside the canyon, uses alien tech to scan the walls. Symbols burn bright with unnatural intensity, words that seem to exist outside the laws of the universe. One crew member, Kai, begins to interpret the symbols, his face pale as the words come into focus. These aren't from any civilization we know. They're not even written. They're burned into the stone. Captain Xylar steps closer, his hand trembling as he reads aloud the phrase pulsing before them. "You claimed Earth. Earth claimed your gods." The crew goes silent, their eyes widening in disbelief. The crew's camp, the air thick with tension. The ship's scanners buzz with interference as the final message ignites across the canyon wall. As the crew packs up to leave, the canyon walls react once more. A final inscription bursts to life, seemingly burning itself into existence, overwhelming their technology with static and failure. The words, once more, pulse in cold brilliance. "Leave the stars as they are, or meet them again." The crew recoils, fear creeping into their hearts. Their scanners flicker, dead. The silence is broken only by the sound of wind and the deep, ominous weight of a forgotten warning. Panic sets in. This is no ordinary threat. We've seen the power of the gods, but this isn't something we can outrun. Earth's sacred peak, towering above the clouds. The wind howls as Mary stands alone, gazing into the distant horizon, her eyes flickering with a deep knowing. The gods never truly left. They sleep beneath us, in the earth, in the stars, and the time is coming. The time for us to remember what we've always known. They do not control us. Not anymore. She turns away, the faintest trace of a smile crossing her lips. The vast expanse of space, stars scattered like diamonds in a dark ocean. The camera pulls back slowly, zooming out to reveal Earth below, quietly pulsing with life. They thought they owned the world, but the world remembered who it belonged to. The gods may sleep, but Earth never forgets. The camera pans across the stars, then zooms in on Earth. Beneath the quiet surface, beneath the cities and the nations, the memory of the gods stirs, silent and patient, ready.